it's an opportunity there for them to give back to the community.
Honoring those who serve, how some local students are using wood and ink to support the troops. Plus, more security improvements underway at the Anoka County Courthouse. We'll have details. But first,
what happened to you was just horrific.
The community rallies around the victim of a senseless act of violence at a local restaurant. That tops CTN News this Friday, November 13th, 2015. Thanks for joining us. Asma Juma was enjoying a night out to dinner with family late last month when she was attacked by another patron.
The alleged reason: she was speaking a language other than English. Last Sunday, dozens of community members gathered in front of City Hall to show support for Asma and call for an end to the hate. CTN's Steve Antis reports.
And this event today is pretty much to say we're in solidarity with Asma for what happened to her.
People came from as far as St. Cloud to stand up against hate and show their support for Asma Juma.
We as a community in Coon Rapids, we as a community in the state of Minnesota, we're not going to tolerate this, and anytime something like this happens, there will be justice.
The brutal assault happened on the night before Halloween inside Applebee's restaurant in Coon Rapids. Asma was with family members speaking Swahili. That's when fellow patron Jody Burchard-Risch confronted her for not speaking American. According to court documents, Burchard-Risch grabbed a glass mug and smashed it across Asma's face. Her injuries, a busted lip, and other cuts on her face required over a dozen stitches. The Anoka County Attorney's Office has charged 43-year-old Jody Burchard-Risch of Ramsey with third-degree assault.
There is no place in Coon Rapids for this kind of nonsense.
City employee Lori Anderson has fostered cultural understanding. A few months ago, she formed a group, Coon Rapids Community Partners, which brought a diverse group of residents together.
We're looking towards getting to know each other and combining our strengths.
The group has already met 3 times. The next meeting will be held on Thursday, December 3rd at the Emma B. Howe YMCA.
We're going to be talking about that at the next meeting, about how we address this sort of incident.
And as the rally ended, they formed a circle in solidarity with Asma.
Today proved to me that Coon Rapids has a lot of beautiful and loving people. If we get to know each other, if everybody's open to know the other person, because America was built by immigrants, then I think this problem will eventually one day go away.
In Coon Rapids, Steve Antis, CTN News.
Late this week, the Anoka County's Attorney's Office said it plans to stick with a felony assault charge. Some were pushing for the case to be tried as a hate crime, but in Minnesota that means a gross misdemeanor charge, which is less severe than a felony.
Thousands of rape kits have gone untested in Minnesota, including hundreds here in Anoka County. According to data released Thursday by the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, 3,482 sexual assault evidence kits have not been processed. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office reported close to 500 untested kits. A spokesperson for the Sheriff's Office says there are 2 main reasons why rape kits aren't tested: when a victim no longer wants to pursue a case, or when the identity of the alleged offender is known, but the question is whether the act was consensual or not.
Anoka County is believed to be the first in the state to use eye scanning technology on inmates being booked into jail. The technology was added during an upgrade to the jail management software late this summer. Officials say a person's irises are more distinctive than fingerprints and take just seconds to match in a computer search. Fingerprints, which are still being taken, take longer to match up. The eye scans are added to a private national database, which currently stores around 1 million scans. Construction began Monday on an $8.5 million improvement project at the Anoka County Courthouse.
The goal of the project is to provide additional security for courthouse staff and inmates. The initial phase of construction is occurring on the west end of the building, but work will eventually take place in other areas. CTN's Jordan Rylance has more.
Safety concerns have been an issue at the Anoka County Courthouse for years. With inmates being transported to court in open hallways, officials knew logistical improvements were needed.
We mix them all up here. You know, if you, for some reason, have a warrant out for your arrest, and it could be because you didn't show up at a pretrial in a misdemeanor case, you're going to be sitting side by side potentially with someone who's sitting on a serious felony charge or a probation violation off a serious felony charge. So we want to make sure that all the people are safe, both staff, the public, the defendants, and the parties.
The project will be divided into 4 phases. The initial phase begins with the construction of a courtroom in a vacant third-floor space. After years of planning and development, county officials determined the challenges this new project needed to address.
Ultimately, we came up with the plan that was approved by the county now about 1.5 years ago. That involved a major revision to our arraignment courtroom, which is courtroom 300, a revamping and revision to our 2 largest trial courtrooms, which are on the 2nd floor of the center courthouse, which would involve updating those courtrooms, but also making those secured as well. A huge expansion of our secured area and holding area for prisoners, and also a great expansion of our conference spaces.
Some funding of the project will come from the county's Asset Preservation Fund, but Anoka County will have to issue bonds in 2016 for the remainder of the costs. Judge O'Fallon realizes this is a big undertaking, but is confident that the new changes will greatly improve county services.
We're excited for this. I think at the end what we're going to be able to provide is a much better experience for the public. I think we're going to be more efficient in how we handle cases. And again, I think we're going to have a higher level of security.
Now, security upgrades had been discussed in the past, but budget constraints didn't allow for renovations at that time. The construction budget is expected, or the project rather, is expected to be completed in 2017. Steve and Karen?
All right, a lot of work to be done. By the way, welcome. This is your first week with us, and
yes.
We're very happy to have you.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
All right. A new incentive was announced this week for landlords willing to give homeless veterans a second chance. The Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs says landlords who rent to veterans currently listed on the Minnesota Homeless Veterans Registry will be able to eligible for up to a $1,000 incentive. Since the beginning of this year, more than 200 veterans on the registry have been housed, but around 150 are still looking for a place to live. The incentive runs through the end of January.
This week, the state of hockey helped honor those who've served our country, including a Coon Rapids man.
From Coon Rapids, Buck Sergeant Bill Lillydahl, awarded his first Purple Heart in South Korea 1950. He is one of the chosen few, as he was in the Battle of Chosin Reservoir, where his brother died next to him in battle.
Lillydahl was one of 10 Minnesotans honored before Tuesday night's Wild game at the Xcel Energy Center. He's actually part of a local veterans group that meets every Wednesday at the Coon Rapids Senior Center. You can learn more about this group on this month's episode of Community Close-Up.
We had to do the killing. We got killed. We had one shelling one afternoon that killed 57 of my buddies around me. I was lucky. All I lost was my hearing.
Schools in District 11 helped honor veterans this week. On Wednesday morning, Joe Kovar, an Army veteran and Anoka High School graduate, returned to his roots to talk to students. He served in World War II at the Battle of the Bulge and also helped free prisoners from concentration camps.
Well, future veterans are also being remembered here in Coon Rapids. Students at Coon Rapids Middle School meet each week and take part in a project to support our troops. CTN's Joe Nelson has the story.
Because we're going to have to package them up. Yes.
For the past 5 years, sounds of students, saws, and sanders have filled Brian Ross's classroom at Coon Rapids Middle School. 6th, 7th, and 8th graders meet 4 days a week after school to build projects out of wood.
We start out making a breadboard. They have to glue it together, and then they have to surface it and sand it by hand.
But one project kids won't take home.
It's a really good learning experience for the students. They get basically just a blank square piece of wood, and then they have to glue a brass barrel into the middle of it, mount it on a lathe, shape it down to a cylinder, sand it, and put a finish on it, and then they need to assemble it.
Pens are then sent to the Freedom Pens Project in Virginia that ships them to all branches of the United States military in Iraq, Kuwait, Afghanistan, and Korea.
You start with a pen blank and a kit, and you turn it into something completely different, and then it gets shipped off to people who are defending our country. They give so much for us, and I think it's cool that we just get to give at least something back.
We know we're giving it to a good cause.
It's real important for the students to realize that there's people overseas right now trying to enforce everybody's right to freedom.
They write letters to say,
"Thank you for devoting your time and effort."
We probably don't use pens or write letters as much anymore, but it's not so much about a pen, it's just somebody's thinking about them.
And it's an opportunity for kids to build something offline.
It definitely gets kids' heads out of the computers, and it gets them into something they can hold in their hand.
In Coon Rapids, Joe Nelson, CTN News.
The Freedom Pens Project started in 2004 and has delivered more than 193,000 pens to troops. That's a whole lot of pens.
That is. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next time.